Greetings fellow mayors, this is Captain Obvious. In this video, we are going to rate the flattest and easiest map to play in City Skylines 2. And we are going to start in order from the map interface with the Archipelago Haven. So City Skylines 2 come with climate, so this is something to take note of when selecting a map. It also includes the buildable area and outside connections, which no longer matter in City Skylines 2 because you can terraform for free as soon as you load the map, and you can also create your own outside connections. However, what does matter are the natural resources and its location in the map. So we're gonna zoom out, and speaking of which, of the natural resources, we can see that Archipelago Haven has a lot of deposits everywhere on the islands. However, you don't necessarily want to build your industries on the island itself. So I would build our industries on like the mainland. So this is a good spot here. And if we look at the terrain, it is not flat, but it doesn't matter because that is the industrial area that we're building. So what does matter are on the island itself. So on the starting tile, we can see that it is somewhat flat, but you can easily flatten this out if you choose to. So you can play it as is, or you can flatten it and it will be for a much more pleasant gameplay because you don't have to worry about cracks on the side of your buildings and whatnot. So the other thing to take note with City Skylines 2 is air pollution. And so in the starting tile, you can see that the air pollution is blowing to the southeast, but that doesn't mean that it's always southeast all throughout. The wind direction actually changes. So here you can see it's going to the west, and yeah, this one is going north. So you have to take note on where it is. And as you check your natural resources, make sure you build like towards the outside. So because you don't want your pollution going into your city. And as I mentioned, the terraforming is available in the beginning of the map. And if you wanted to, so these are islands, but you are not restricted to remain as is. You could like combine the islands together. So for instance, you can see this. So this map also has ship lines. So here's a ship line, but as I said, you can delete them and remake them. First, let's go ahead and like kind of unlock some tiles. Right, so unlock some tiles, and if I wanted to, I could delete this, right? And I could remake it into something wider, right? Or thinner or whatever. And so if you feel like you don't have enough space, you may choose to just make the terrain, like combine the islands together. This is completely your call. So the terrain here appears to be sand. You can easily fix that. All you need to do is just go to an area with grass, just right click, and then just build over it, and you will add in the grass. So that's not even an issue. Another thing to take note on maps is that some have items in it. For instance, there's an old mill, right? You can relocate that. So try not to delete this, but instead use it as assets for your city, considering that there are no ploppable assets. So you want to keep these when possible. However, there are some that you cannot relocate, so probably building around them would be a great idea. So with that said, let's check out the rest of the map. So again, you may choose to flatten it out, make it lower and whatnot, rebuild your highways, and yeah, all of this is mostly flat, right? You just need to massage Mother Nature a little bit just to flatten things to your choosing. So overall, I'm going to give this map an S tier for an ease into starting your city, because here I could easily flatten this. I could extend this if I wanted to. But yeah, overall, this is the S tier map. The next map that we are going to be checking is the Barrier Island. So from here, let's check our terrain, and look how nicely flat that is. Oh, this is beautiful and it's very, very easy to terraform. Yeah, this map is extremely welcoming. The only downside that I see is, so for instance, let's say you start building here and you're gonna of course start with low density, but this island, like at most cases you want to make this as like as Manhattan, right, with all the tall buildings, and you may want to have your low density out here. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna build, then you're gonna like rezone, change it until you get the right ones, then you're gonna have to relocate your low density. That's the only downside to this map when it comes to resources. So we have resources on the sides or at the edge of the map. So if you look at the wind direction, it's all blowing outward, which is perfect. So here is a place where I would place all my industries, which will be perfect. I would just need to create a highway. And again, if you wanted to, you could create your own other islands, because when you unlock it, so this is the full view, you could create an island here if you wanted to, make your island airport there or whatnot, make this larger. You can connect this together or just put a bridge. There's a ship route that goes through here and goes under the bridge. And yeah, again, this is an easy map to play on. I think most people are choosing this map when they start. So this map will also get an S tier. And the next map that we're going to explore is the Great Highlands. So Islands comes with a roundabout in the beginning, and the terrain has some slight slopes. You could terraform this, just flatten it out if you wanted to. Again, that's your choice. If you want to keep it as is and have tiny cracks, that is completely up to you. But as you go further out, it starts to slope. So it's going to become a little more tricky. So you're going to have to choose wisely on where you build, or just build along the terrain or build along the topography of the map. That is completely your build style. And let's check the terrain or the resources. So this is the starting tile. We have ore, fertile land, and oil here, and it is separated by a river. I think this is a great spot for all your industries, and it also has a highway connection, right? Of course you can create your own, but it's already built in, and you could just unlock this tile and just start creating your industries there. So it's gonna be really easy to build on this map. Also, this side you can flatten this out. There are some slopes, but it's not terrible. So overall, I am going to give this map an A tier. And the next map that we are going to explore is Lakeland. Okay, when you start Lakeland, it already gives you somewhat of a nice, decent start. Let's check the terrain, and it is also somewhat flat. It starts on an island, which is not bad, and majority of the area is also like you can easily make it flat, and there will be no issue. So yeah, this area looks good. When it comes to our natural resources, it's a little less. But let's see, good spots to build will you probably will dedicate one island just for industry, and it won't be too bad. Yeah, there's already a highway here, so I think this will be your industrial area. And again, if you want to, you can combine islands or just build things out there, or just create like little roads going through. That is completely up to you. But overall, this map is pretty decent, so I will also give this map an A tier. And the next map that we're going to visit is the Mountain Village. Okay, Mountain Village looks a little promising. Let's check the terrain. So it is somewhat flat, not too bad. So here is somewhat of a slope. However, the slope goes downwards. Downwards is good. Downwards is a little easier to work with than going upward, because upward is, yeah, it's not easy to work with. But this is fairly good. And if we come to the resources, so we have our ore, fertile land, and oil on that side. So again, it is separated by a river. So I think this may have been intentional. All you need to do is just build on that side, and then you can build your cities on this side. I guess the only downside to this map is that there is no ship connection because it is not connected to the ocean whatsoever. But overall, it's not too bad. I mean, I think I'll have an interesting time here. There's a lot of land space, so you don't have to connect islands. So yeah, so that's a good difference, right? With the islands, you have to create bridges and whatnot. Then you have to go through making those ski walls with roads. So that will consume a lot of time. So this one is a nice map if you want to avoid all of that, and the area are mostly flat. So this map I will also give an A tier if you don't want to play on islands. And the next map we're going to check out is the River Delta. Okay, River Delta gives you a starting grid, and only on this area where it's slightly flat, then it starts to slope upward and it continues to slope up. But this isn't too bad. I mean, if this is your starting area, it's not bad because you can have your low density here, and then you could start setting up your high density somewhere, a little further out. But it's going to be tricky because most of the area is very steep. So let me give an example on why it is difficult. So let's go ahead and unlock a few tiles. Okay, so let's say you're going to put down an asset. So as you can see, right, the terrain, like you really have to flatten it because of the building itself. And then look at that, right? So you're gonna have to flatten something like that, and then it slopes down, so all of your other buildings are also gonna get affected. And then there are other items which are huge. So for instance, this thing. So again, this is another level to work with, and it also expands. So that's why slopes are a little more tricky. And for that, we are going to give this a B tier because it's not too terrible, right? It's workable. Here, you could probably plan your high density on this side, which is great, right? So you have your low density on this side, then your high density along the coastline. So the resources are at the back, and I am going to assume that yep, it blows outward. So majority of the wind will blow to the edges of the map. So it's just your beginning tile that you have to think of. So you just create your industries on that side, and then eventually move them and put them at the corner of the tile or the entire map. And if you want, you can combine some of these islands, right? Make them bigger, and then create more of your high density on these islands. So this map will get a B tier for its terrain layout. And the next map we are going to check out is Sweeping Plains. Okay, on Sweeping Plains, we just have a road, and immediately it starts off as a slope. So that's very interesting. So let's try to decide if we were going to build to the end game. So residential here, not too bad, right? You're gonna have some cracks, so you're probably not going to make grid on this map. So you're gonna have to have a strategy. Let's check the resources. Yep, so again, it's towards the corners. So I would be like making our industries on this side, so you are zoning towards there. And then our high density will be towards the coastline. So let's check the unlockable areas. Yep, you just have to do terraforming, I suppose, unless you want to build on top of these hills. But I would most likely just I would relocate this one and just lower everything down, which isn't a bad idea. Same goes here. Yes, I think this map is not too bad. I mean, it starts off like naturally, You know, you start with low density, then high density going towards here, compared to a map like Barrier Island, where you start with low density on the island itself, but you have to rezone over them to make them high density so that you can make like a Manhattan. But this one is much more natural. However, you just need to terraform some locations. With that, I am going to give this map a B. Then the next map we're gonna explore is Twin Mountain, that is divided by a singular river. Okay, so Twin Mountain starts off with just a road. So we do have some flat surface to work with here, but it seems to be extremely steep on that side. We can work our way here, so we're gonna unlock this area, right? And then again, a good strategy would be building along the coastline, like planning out your high density. So you may want to extend this, so you're gonna terraform, probably keep this cliffs on the mountain, have your high density here. So this is a very interesting map. However, it's going to be very tricky. You're not going to keep the natural topography of the terrain, simply because you will most likely extend out instead of flattening inward, because this, right, it's going to make it very tricky. And yet again, so this is also extremely steep. If we look at our resources, there are again towards the back, which is great. Not a lot of oil, but this would be probably the best spot for your industrial area. There is no highway there, but of course we could always just create our own connection here, so that's not even an issue. And down here, if we wanted to, we could also create our islands here, so there's a lot of room for creativity. So anything with water is actually pretty good. So this map I will give a C. And the next map is the Watery Pass with a slithering river going through the middle. So let's go ahead and check it out. And this map starts off with just a singular road, and it already starts to slope down. So if this was our starting tile, or this is our starting tile, so this is going to be low density. It's not going to be too bad. So we're going to work our high density towards the middle, I suppose. That'll be a good plan. You're not going to be messing too much around with key walls with roads because of these tall cliffs. The interesting about this map though is it has ship connection, but you do have to connect it. So this map is much more challenging, but I think if you're able to pull it off, you're able to have a ship going through here, you are going to be awesome. Like because I don't think a lot of people will be building on this map, and especially building that ship route, right, just to make it more interesting. If you can do that, then you have an excellent portfolio for one of the maps built on. For resources, again, I would highly recommend building on the edges of the map. All you need to do is to find the try area right here. So this you want to take, and you just want to build all your industries there and just connect that with a highway. So this one, not too far away. Again, it doesn't matter too much if it's on a slope, because they are just industrial areas. What matters the most is where you're gonna put your high density, right? So you can put them along here and have bridges going across. So this is gonna be definitely an interesting map to play on. And if you want, you could even, I don't know if it's possible, like break this up, but this might be the edge of the map, so I'm mistaken right there. And have your airport here and whatnot, maybe a little more high density or low density on this side, or maybe your low density that started off here, you may want to like change that into high density. So yeah, I think this map will be fun. Still a little tricky though, but I will give this a C because we are looking for the easiest map to play on. And the final map is Windy Fords. So Windy Fords comes with a singular block, and it's already sloping downward, but again, it's not too terrible. This is your starting grid, so it's okay to have your low density crack a little bit. but what counts the most is where you put your high density. I could see adding your high density here, right? Kind of like flatten this out, just add a little there. Um, Perhaps on this side, right? And maybe here you'd have your high density. Possibly here as well. So this one appears to be extremely steep. So let's go ahead and add in an item. Okay, putting this down. And as you can see, it somewhat needs to be flattened. So when I do that, you can see that, yeah, it does require some flat space, but this is not too terrible. You just need to kind of smooth that out a little bit. So yeah, you just have to be careful on where you place things. So it's not bad to build your whole area here. So the resources here are again towards the corner. You can unlock this. You can unlock this side. You know, create all your industrial area here. Just create an outside connection, and then you should be set. You know, on second thought, you can just, instead of these mountains, you can like flatten them out and have your high density here, and that would be very interesting. So, and also this, yeah, all of these mountainsides, you can just flatten them out. So instead of building here, build your high density here. So this is a challenging map, but it requires a lot of creativity. So in terms of creativity, I would give this map an A tier or an S tier. But for like new players, this is gonna be tricky because of the slopes. So with that, and for that category, I will give this map a C.